Tuesday, Friday.
Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR and Scoreline.ie's weekly rugby podcast with Tom Crotty from Carlow Rugby Club, James Blanchfield from Kilkenny, and Johnny Tobin from Tullow. Lads, how's it going?
I'm absolutely excellent, Stephen.
Grand,
Good
Steve.
stuff. I wonder why.
It's Friday, Stephen.
We nearly didn't record the podcast because I forgot to hit record. I had to go back and start again. But anyway, lads, we're getting to the end of rugby season, well, local rugby season anyway. Kilkenny are the local interest still involved in the Towns Cup anyway. And of course, there is the Women's Paul Flood Cup is going on, and Tullow, of course, are in the Towns Plate as well. So a couple of more weeks of that. Leinster, Munster in Champions Cup action and all that as well. So we'll keep her lit for the next couple of weeks anyway. But we can't move on without talking about Kilkenny Carlow last week. Myself and Johnny were on commentary duty. We dusted down mics for the first time since 2017. And
good times.
It was good times. No, it was good old cracks. Great to get it done. But lads, it was as it turned out, it was a pretty decent match. And as the write-ups went, and of course what we would have said on the day, it could have went either way, all depending on a couple of little bits of things that happened. James, thought you were the winners. Congratulations. How did it go down afterwards from your own side? Happy?
Yeah, it was happy. Everyone's delighted to be in a cup semi-final, first and foremost, and I think that's the objective, is to win. It's cup rugby, and it doesn't matter how you win once you win. I think coming off the back of the Wicklow game, we were expecting this swashbuckling performance, and we thought that, we might, as a cohort of supporters, we might have been a little bit complacent, thinking that we just continue on from the previous week. Carlow had other ideas, and I've still been thinking about it all week. I still have to hand it to Carlow. They were brilliant for the full 80 minutes. And as Michael Carberry said to me after the game, he said, in cup rugby, he says, what you have to do is get points on the board when you have your moments of dominance. And we did that. Thankfully for us, I was thinking back on it during the week, there was two moments in the game which I feel rallied Carlow, which was at the end of the first half, where Doc was practically over the line, and I think it was Colonel Slater met him with a tackle and absolutely cleaned him out of it, got in on the ball and turned the ball over. Any other day that was a try, and that was probably game over. And then early in the second half, or midway through the second half, I think it was Puddin or Doc again that was going over, and an absolutely brilliant tackle again. It's just before, actually, the young lad of the McDermott's did his ankle. Just before that, there was a brilliant tackle as well to force a knock on. And they were two moments in the game that I think Carlow, that rallied Carlow's and kept them going, because we were absolutely living on bare bones there. We were living on scraps, and Carlow probably threatened our line a lot more than we threatened their line. And it was your quintessential cup game, as has been described this week. Two teams just went at it hammer and tongs. You couldn't say that we won it because we were more experienced, because we won it because we were a 1A team. Both teams were evenly matched, even, I suppose, in the context of the 80 minutes or the 87 minutes that he played. Carlow were probably the better team for the majority of it. Our line-out was poor, which it shouldn't have been when we have jumpers of the quality of Wes and Roy and others to come back in as well. Ben's arrows were a little bit off. But, with Ben, for us, it's kind of his work rate around the pitch has increased no end, and he's kind of flipped on his line-out throws. But, just actually the picture of Jack Walsh and Jeff McDermott up there, if Carlow potentially had a faster one, if young Crotty was on that ball, he was in for a try. If one of the Carlow wingers was on that ball, they were in for a try, because Jack wouldn't have caught it. It's just cup games are won on big moments, and we got the big moment early in the first half. Early in the second half, Doc went over for a try. Richard White had an off day in the boot, and luckily for us, he did, because if he didn't, Carlow would have won the game by a point.
Absolutely. Any concerns arising from that performance, James, heading it. We're going to preview Dundalk properly now in a few minutes. But any concerns around the scrum or anything? Because Carlow did a job on you once or twice, but then equally, you drove Carlow back a fair bit as well in a couple of those scrums.
Yeah, we did. I think we might have won 3 scrum penalties. I think Carlow might have won a couple of scrum penalties as well. Dundalk have a scrum, and that's what they have.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a bloody good scrum. I mean, Simon O'Shea is their tight head. Simon played for us for 10 years. You know, we taught Simon the ropes. If you look at his player pick from the Dundalk Facebook page, he's waxing lyrical about his time at Kilkenny and the stuff he won with Kilkenny, and his biggest influence on his career as Kilkenny man. He's going to be packing down tight head against Byrne on Sunday. They have a huge pack besides that, so the scrum will be an area that we'll be looking to avoid. They'll be looking to target. It's a balance. Our back row is probably the best back row that's left in the competition. Gary Dunn is to come back into it as well. He was injured last week, but I believe he's coming back in this week. Outside 10, we are probably a better team. You know, we're probably well matched with Dundalk. 9, maybe Jake is probably the best 10 in the league, in my opinion. And then from number 12 the whole way back out, I think we probably have the number on them. Up front, like, I mean, line out is an area where we might be able to get some traction from them. But look, we've played them twice this year. The first game we won by 2 points. The second game was a draw.
17
Hugh Cork, 17-all. There's 2 points separating both teams in nearly 200 minutes of rugby this year. I'd love to say we're going to go up there and we're going to blow them out of the park. It's too close to call. You know, they have a few players back as well. I think their Kiwi is back in. I personally think it's going to be too close a game to call. Yeah. And you know, it's cup rugby. Big moments win cup matches. It might be a penalty. It could end, as I said, going into the game last week, it could be a 3-0 win or loss, you know.
Yeah. Before we get into that game properly, Tom Crotty, of course, president of Carlow Rugby Club, or County Carlow Football Club. I'll get right one of these days. County Carlow.
Is Tullow not in County Carlow, lads?
That's County Tullow as well.
County Tullow FC.
Tom, you of course obviously at the match as well. What obviously huge disappointment in the dressing room considering the performance you've put in. You know, the lads I suppose couldn't have done an awful lot more. They went out and did what they had to do, and they put it up to a big Kilkenny side.
Yeah. Of course, the lads are disappointed at the end of the season as well. So for us, it's look, lads are upset as generally will be. I mean, a lot of intensity goes into the preparations for a cup match, and you know, it was a ding-dong battle. I mean, everyone that I don't think the amount of people that came up to us after and have spoken to us and said, you know, what a cracking match it was, both sides. That is one of the best games they've seen in a long time. You know, it is just the intensity is real cup game. Great day for us. Look, Carlow supporters went home, and I tell you what we've done. We've actually turned a lot of people to actually start to believe in us because, you know, we've had it tough over the last couple of years, and maybe I don't think we've had a lot of support kind of from our supporters and from members in the fact that because we haven't really had a lot of success in the last couple of years. The last couple of years. I think it's. I think we've proved a point now that the club is on a turn. We had 12 of those 20 players were 23 and younger, and I think that was probably one of the reasons, the difference between ourselves and Kilkenny. Kilkenny were that little bit more experienced across the park, held the ball when they need to held the ball. They found a little bit of cuteness. Doc was, you know, got over for that try. He just caught us off guard at, you know, after half time. They're on a buzz there going into half time. And that's how these little things can cause problems. Like, I know we missed 3 off the boot, but that is just cup rugby. I mean, it's nothing down.
I felt sorry for Richie there because he was so good in the semi-final, you know, and I had a good chat with him after the game, and he was devastated with himself.
Richie kicked the ball, dropped a goal from nearly halfway line at the last game against against Navan. So I mean, like, it's not that. I mean, to be honest, probably a little bit of inexperience more than anything else. Look, we've a great set of backs there working well. The forwards are hungry but a bit young. You know, that's the little problems you have when the finer details in the game, when you have, especially with Kilkenny, who, to be honest, have had to fight really hard this season. Just, you know, and you've had that little game you had against. I know Wicklow were just as up for, well, they were up for it, but weren't probably as strong against you on Saturday. But you had to fight for, you know, for against the relegation, and you know, you've had a lot of tough games this year. So all those things add up, and I think we just lost out in a bit of experience. But look, we're going to go onwards and upwards from this, well, please God, because I think we've had a lot of belief back in the club. We've have a lot of young players. There's a good buzz. Look, we were happy when you sit down and look realistically. We've just turned this around. We've started getting the young lads back. So there's an awful lot of Carlow grown players. We're now back in contention. We came third in the league. We definitely should have been in the top two. And we got to a quarter final of a Towns Cup. That's 2 more steps than we've got before in the Towns Cup in a long time. So I mean, for us, it's a success. It's a successful season. I know we don't have silverware to go away with it, but
sometimes silverware is only a short-term success.
It is. You have to go. We have goals. You know, you have to have goals. You have to have. It's not just sport is about it's also having fun and enjoying it. And as I said to the boys after, I thank them all so much, because you go up there. You know, you can have a down day or a bad day, and you go up there and there's lads smiling and laughing, and you know, and there's a bit of buzz around the place, and you know, it absolutely lifts your spirits. It's so good to see have that feeling around. I mean, that's what sports should be, and you know, unlike other sports, we're able to go out and put the intensity like that you had on Sunday. Go have a few pints, you know, get over it, and get out the next day and next weekend. You know, there's none of this. We're not professionals. We're amateurs. These lads they train hard. They put an awful lot of effort in, and it's great to be able to go out on a Sunday, meet their friends, and you know, get over it. And whether you win or lose, it's you can have a pint, get back on the Saturday and on Tuesday, and work it in. That's why, you know, we have to promote. We're promoting our sport against, you know, they put in the same amount of effort as any other sport, but it's just good old crack, and that's what, to me, that's what rugby's about. And if you see them on Sunday, and I have to say thanks to Dave, your president, down below, the welcome we got was unreal. We had great crack. Yeah. You know, we had lovely. It was so nice to meet a lot of the older presidents that were there and stuff in the bar before and afterwards. And I hate to say, but it's an awful thing that the three teams aren't all back together again, because one of the Kilkenny presidents actually spoke to my son in the bar. He was one of the ex-presidents, and I'd say a man well into his 70s. Was chatting to my son Dan in the bar after us, and he says, "Come here, will you do me one favour next season?" And Dan goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "Will you ever win that division and come up?" Because we missed this crack, you know.
Yeah, and it's true.
They missed the Carlow crack, you know, and it's the same for if you had the three teams back in that playing off each other, like it's only short trips, and it does cause, like, we've had the Tullow Carlow thing for a long time, but you know, you missed that with Kilkenny, because there's a buzz, no matter what you say. Like, there is nothing like any of the three teams played. There's something special about Carlow, Kilkenny, and the same. Like, we've all, as I said, look, we have with Tullow, because it's a local derby, and local derbies are local derbies. But there was just something always special there playing Kilkenny, and we miss it.
Yeah, and
we miss it there. So
I was having a good chat with Richie White after the game, and he was kind of saying we were actually hoping you get relegated, because that would have meant it with Kilkenny, Tullow, Carlow, and a tie next year. You know, and when you put it that way, like, it makes the league very easy.
Yeah.
But Tom, you just made a comment there, and there's another thing I'll touch on in a minute, is your backline. I have to say your backline was absolutely electric. You look at the two boys in the centre, they're class. Your two wingers are good. You Richie at the back, just keeping a country. Like, Richie, I think he was pretty much flawless on Sunday, as a full back goes. Maybe, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to any, but maybe if you had a snappier scrum half in there on Sunday, things might have been a little bit different. You know, taking nothing away from Jeff. I like Jeff. He played with us for a couple of seasons. He's a good player. But maybe if there was just somebody there whose pass might have been a little bit quicker, things could have been a whole lot different, and released that back line. Because they were I have to hand it to your young fella. our 12, Joe Manuel thought he was going to go out over him all day long, and Sam just made him. He was only half his size, and he stopped him every time he came down his channel. But the other point I was going to get to was just on the past captains and the thing like the reception that you got in Kilkenny. I have to hand it to Dave Matthews. Since he's becoming as president and taking nothing away from the previous presidents, he's worked so hard in the club in Kilkenny to get that atmosphere back. And it's to get all those past presidents and to get people. Dave, there was people at the match on Sunday. We worked very hard to get a big crowd to it. Dave was patrolling the sidelines, kind of pinpointing people who we hadn't seen at the club in a long time, making it his effort to go over and speak with them and making sure that they went into the club for a pint after the game. What Dave Matthews, Vinny O'Shea, Mick Hannigan and others have done this year in the last 2 or 3 years for the club has been remarkable. And I have to hand it to them. They need an incredible pat on the back.
Absolutely. It's a great old atmosphere down there. Johnny, you enjoyed yourself down there that day as well. We were, of course, calling the game. It was great crack. We got a great welcome as well. We were broadcasting and, very easy to chat to people afterwards and everything as well.
Johnny, that is Cup rugby as well, though.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely, yeah.
Part of that's Town's Cup,
Can I just say, lads, I have to compliment you, as I said, the amount of people that come up, not about the game, but also as other people said about the radio, they really enjoyed people who couldn't get down to the game. There was people with COVID and so on. And thanks to KCLR and the two of you, because it was absolutely fantastic. And that was great. I haven't listened back. I go to the sit down some night and listen to it, maybe with a jar in my hand. But I'll delete
all the bits, Johnny, for you.
People said to me, look, it was great commentary and a bit of a laugh, and it gave a great view of the whole thing. So well done, lads, and thanks again to KCLR for throwing the band down as well.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Maybe Carty texted me after the game and said she hadn't a fingernail left. She said, well, listening to Jimmy McGee and Micheál O'Hare.
Yeah, that's the coming down to the last bits of the game. Absolutely. No, we enjoyed it. Johnny, your own thoughts on the game. I know we spoke extensively about it after the game and beyond, but you as the neutral there, I suppose. Yeah, it was great.
Sorry, no, James. I was actually rooting for Carlow to win. I thought they were going to pip you in the last 2 minutes.
You're speaking on both sides.
Going to do it again.
I can show up
Can't believe they're going to do it again.
I can show up the text messages. I
enjoyed it now. It's interesting for me, obviously, because I work with Corey and Jeff and Liam and Wes Shirley, Wes Carter, and it's just no matter who won that day, I was going to be friends with the winner anyway. It was great. So it was nice and chilled. But it's good to see the lads going up against each other, and I think the two Wes in the lineup, they're two phenomenal players. Like Leinster junior coaches, you don't have to look further than Wes Shirley and Wes Carter, the two best second rows in any division. In my opinion, they're class. I really did enjoy the game though. It was good. It's actually good to go to a rugby match where you have no involvement and you can actually just watch rugby, and you can actually just enjoy it with zero pressure about what the result is.
I'm going to have to go. I'm under pressure.
You got to see a man about a dog.
Yeah.
See you, Tom.
I'll let you be. I enjoy the rest. And best of luck on Sunday, James. I can't get up, but because we have our J3s are playing Gorey on Sunday.
I didn't actually know our J3s were playing your J3s last Sunday either. I didn't know that.
Well, James, it was hilarious to watch. I watched it with Tom.
Really?
There was another young, I don't know who he was, a very good little low half there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Right. A baker's son, like.
A baker's son, 27 points.
I think he scored 26 points.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, lad, I'm going to go. I realize everyone.
Shoots that she'll have to bury, yeah.
That's a voice of Tom Crotty there.
Surprised I didn't see you talked out with the J3 game.
I said it didn't tell me on purpose. No, I didn't know anything about it, and I kind of have to apologise to a few people during the week for that because there was no notice went up to notify people about it. But they're gone into the Dun Cup now, and I was on a team to win a Dun Cup back in 2018. It was it's funny. I came into adult rugby in 2005. I won a Seconds Cup, and I finished in 2018 winning a J4 Cup. So it was nice to start with a cup and finish with a cup.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I was watching. I went into Carlow and I met Tom before your game last week,
Right.
and I watched that J3 game with him. I had nothing else to do with Sunday morning. It was interesting. His young lad Ben was playing. He got 27 points.
It's good scoring.
Yeah, he plays GA. He's not available to play rugby for the senior men's. He was outstanding in the J3 game.
Very good.
That's what you want.
I know. Look, we had kind of an eclectic mix went up there, and I think the focus for us every the Anderson Cup, the J3 Cup, it's the only cup Kilkenny has never won. We've only reached the final once. I think it was 1989. We reached the final with a star-studded team. However, the biggest star of that team, I believe, won't name names, and people know who I'm talking about. He went on the session a couple of days before it and stayed on the session and turned up for the final and was a no-fit state to play. And he would have been our talisman that year. And we lost that final. And a lot of people in Kilkenny are a lot of lads who would have been on that team would be very still disappointed not to have won that Anderson Cup. And it's
actually a nice trophy to win. We've won, I think, two or three of them.
For us, it's been the hardest one for us to win. We've won the Dun Cup probably 6 or 7 times in the last 20 years. We've won we won the Towns Cup. We did back-to-back 2001, 2002. We won the Seconds Cup 5 or 6 times between 1995 and 2005. But the Anderson Cup has always been a difficult one for us to win, and someday we might,
Absolutely. Johnny, before we go on to Kilkenny Dundalk, a quick word on the Tullow Towns Plate game, which was neck and neck. We were following it on Twitter and calling out the scores during our commentary. But
I actually thought we started to play badminton at one stage.
Yeah, it was nail biting stuff. Some amount of scores in it.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched it back yet. Morris said to me I haven't watched it back yet, but by all accounts, all I'm hearing back it was a to and fro game of tennis. You score, I score, you score, I score. But you look at it, it's exciting. We got through to the next round. We play Wicklow this Sunday in Wicklow at 3:00. And our seconds play Wicklow seconds in the Towns Cup on Saturday in Wicklow as well. So we might as well just rent a room up there Saturday night.
No way to go double up and have them on the same day, There's no way you double up and have them on the same day.
No, sure, that'd make sense, James. That'd make logical sense, from all walks of life. But I think both squads, I think Wicklow especially, want to kind of have lads fresh for their firsts and lads available for their seconds. They're kind of tight on numbers. We for one time this year, we have loads of numbers.
Yeah.
We had to turn away. I think 6-7 guys last Saturday in the seconds game against Ashburn that we couldn't play them because we were over the squad, which has never happened all season long or probably in a long time. And we had 20 lads fresh for the first the next day. So we're not doing too bad there number-wise. The dog is trying to get in here to me. But yeah, look, it makes logical sense to play it twice in Wicklow or in the one day, but sure, we are where we are. I'll be in Naas anyway, James. I'll be somewhere around you in Naas on Sunday.
Probably shouting for Dundalk, are you?
He's reporting
Would
for
you
the
believe
radio.
Me, right? The funny thing what I said about the Carlow, every single Carlow player supporter that knows me in Kilkenny asked me had I got my Kilkenny jersey on underneath my jumper. So they must have just seen text or something. I don't actually have a Kilkenny jersey, James, if you want to look after me on that one.
Well, if you did, I'd be asking for it back because it's likely that you stole it.
We'll
have to root for County Carlow,
Should we move on to Kilkenny Dundalk? James, we'll just go back to what you were saying earlier. Their front row is pretty awesome. Awesome. Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're a huge pack. They're a huge pack, and they push us up and down the field a couple of times this season. You had only 2 points separated, so that'll tell you that there's a balance there. I personally think it's going to be too tight a game to call. I think I have to say, and I'm biased in saying it, that our back row is class. It's an incredible back row. I mean, with Gary Dunn back this week, it's going to be very difficult to select the back row to select the starting back row because Dave O'Connor, Shane O'Riordan and Roy Stanley were brilliant the weekend. Like Shane O'Riordan on number 7, he was being man-marked by the referee now last Sunday because he was getting in on a lot of ball, and I don't think the referee was used to seeing a 7 that could get in on the ball the way he could. But then you had Roy on the other side, who's always on the edge, and Doc, who's one of our talisman go forward men. And, you know, as you said, Johnny, in the row we have Wes, and who goes down beside Wes? Is it going to be Simon O'Hara? Is it going to be Andrew Warner or Liam Phelan? You know, those decisions need to be made. I think Doc is going to have, and Steve and Ray and Eamon Dooley and the boys, and they have their selection meeting last night or tonight, whatever is done.
But is it a good headache to have, James?
It's an incredible headache to have.
Like,
It's
you
going to
haven't
be
had it all
very, very
season
difficult.
like us. Like, it's a great thing to have.
It's going to be a very, very hard thing to do for the lads to pick. I won't say a team, because the team probably picks itself, you know, relatively speaking. But I'd say it's going to be very, very difficult to pick a squad, because like Martin Lahey is back as well this week. You know, Martin was our tight head who started against Wicklow in Carlow 2 weeks ago. He was away last week because he had to work, so he has to come back in. Will he get back in is the question. You know, you have young Shane O'Connor there then as well, who was on the bench last week. He's up from Shannon. He's working and living in Kilkenny. Could he miss out? You know, could Andrew Warner miss out? Could Simon? Like, it's that's the thing about Towns Cup. You pick 20 players, and that's that. The back line probably picks itself in greatest respects. You know, it's likely Jake Prattley will be 10, Jake Prattley will be 9, Jake McDonald will be 10, Joe and Podge in the centres, Jack on one wing, Liam full back, you know, and Hugh on the other wing. I was texting Wes last night, and I just said, have you any injuries? I wanted to leave Doc alone because he probably has enough of people ringing and texting him. Wes just said, no, we have a full squad to pick from, including Gary Dunn. Wouldn't like to be picking a squad. There's going to be some disappointed people. And there are. And I remember being dropped off a Towns Cup squad when I was very young. Jermac dropped me. And for Philly Ryan, who's one of my best mates, actually. And, you know, it's just, that's it. It's Cup rugby. And there's nothing to separate us and Dundalk. You know, maybe the one thing that might go in our favour is if they have a big heavy pack, maybe we can run them around the pitch on Sunday, and the weather, a bit warmer weather, might work in our favour. Even Niall Beelan, the referee in Kilkenny on Sunday, like the weather got to him and the intensity again got to him. He was wrecked. He's a big man, you know. Imagine being a referee is one thing. Imagine being a player running around the pitch. So, you know, I'm going to find a very, very hard game to call. And I was reading the Leinster Rugby preview there earlier on, and they were actually saying the same thing. I'm not copping out, like, we want to go up there and win on Sunday, but if it ends up, it's one of those 6-3, 3-0, 9-6 Towns Cup encounters.
You don't want it to come down to a penalty, decided by penalties either, because there was a good few. The discipline wasn't great on Sunday from Carlow or Kilkenny's side, and myself and Johnny spoke about during the commentary as well. You won't get away with that, James, on Sunday.
You give away 16 penalties against Carlow. You know, against a better team there.
Dundalk's kicker, the lad with the big curly hair, like he's a distance kicker as well. Dundalk's kicker, you know, and he'll kick from distance, as will Hugh Corkery, of course. You know, and discipline's going to be a huge factor. Discipline is going to be a massive factor on Sunday. And this comes Sunday. Our discipline was poor last Sunday. Like, Hugh Corkery got 2 yellow cards, and the second yellow card was dubious. The first yellow card, I found it hard to see. Yeah, there was 2 lads on the ground scrapping. I found it hard to see how the referee could give a yellow card for that when his back was turned and he didn't see a thing, and it was all broken up by the time he turned around. I thought the law of the land was the referee has to see it to punish it. But look, it didn't have an impact on the game. It was 2 yellow cards. He was still available. Like, there was a penalty given at the end, the one against Joe Manuel for an apparent dangerous tackle. He gave, like, yes, Joe lifted the player off the ground. He didn't do anything dangerous. He turned the player into a what I would see as being a positive position and dropped the player back down gently on the ground. He didn't do anything silly. Yet the referee gave a penalty. In my mind, if a dangerous tackle is executed, it's a penalty, but also the player has to be sanctioned as well with either a red or yellow card. That wasn't given to Joe on Sunday. So, you know, there was penalties given as well that I think maybe the referee, Niall, and I had a good chat with him. He's one of the soundest referees out there. Maybe the heat got to him, maybe the intensity of the game and the speed of the game got to him as well. And some penalties might have been given, particularly against us in the last 10 minutes, that weren't penalties. Just before Joe's incident where the dangerous tackle, there was two Carlow knock-ons were missed on the ground as well. So, but referees are referees. As I always say, we're not here to give out about them, but it's just that little bit of consistency that you want as well. Because in our mind, Shane O'Riordan, our number 7, is a cracking man on the ground, but maybe he's in too quickly for referees to actually give him the benefit of the doubt as well. There was an awful lot of offside. Johnny shared a picture the other day. There was a few Carlow boys living on the edge. We were living on the edge, but that's junior rugby. We're all used to. We're all used to living in this world where we have Sky Sports and BT showing all these fancy camera angles, where there's no getting away from it. What we're looking at is pugilist rugby. It's down to earth, grassroots rugby, and it's perfectly acceptable for Ireland to get through a game, or Munster and Leinster to get through a game giving away 6 or 7 penalties. Junior rugby is junior rugby as well. Players are going to concede penalties. Referees aren't as fit. Players aren't as fit. So, we have to understand that it's the level of game that we're watching as well.
True.
Yeah, I have only one problem with referees. I've no problem with Niall Bean as referee. I think he's actually a good referee.
He's class.
Now, he missed a couple of things on Sunday, but as do they all. This thing of interpretation is what annoys me.
It is or it isn't.
Like, it's either it's black or it's white. Like, there's no interpretation of, I thought it was this, but James Blanchfield doesn't think it was this. The laws are the laws, and they have to be followed. And sometimes referees go with their take on the law, but that's not the law. Like, it frustrates me big time. It really does that they have like interpretations. The one biggest thing frustrates me about junior rugby is you put your hands on the deck over a player on the ball, you're off your feet. You're closing off a contest. So Shane O'Riordan can't get onto the ball. How many times you see players in junior rugby with their hands on the ground over a ball and referees just let it go because they don't want to give penalties for that, because it's just play on the way it goes,
Look at in cup rugby, that's the difference between a win and a loss. And
3 minutes to go, Carlow get a penalty in front, or 5 minutes to go, penalty in front of your post for Shane O'Riordan off his feet. Yeah. When he thinks he's perfectly fine on the ball.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, he gives away another one on the halfway line, then you're down in your corner.
Yeah. I have to say it, and I'm saying not just because he's a cousin of mine, but I felt sorry for Richie White on Sunday, because he's been impeccable off the boot for Carlow all year. I watched him against Longford. He was brilliant. Off the boot, he was brilliant against Navan. I did feel I had a good chat with him after the game, and the chap was heartbroken, because 3 kicks
Carlow
a goal.
would feel like that was one they left behind,
Definitely. But
more so than Kilkenny took it from them, because yes, Kilkenny did have bigger moments, and they took their chance on bigger moments. And I said that to you, Stephen, when Kilkenny had turnovers or they had got excited on the ball,
they did something.
They were a lot more careful and they did something exciting with it. Whereas when Carlow got excited with the ball, it was either a knock on or they couldn't live past 3 phases with it. Yeah. So yes, Kilkenny had the bigger moments, but Carlow showed their grit there. They were going right to the last minute and they were still trying to get that win. I don't know, it's just a poor decision of a referee there, and that's a different game.
Yeah. And look, that's junior rugby. But Dundalk on Sunday, just back on point to kind of this discussion about previewing that game, we're going up there with no illusions, and that may sound like a cliche, but we're going up there with no illusions about how difficult a game that's going to be. Wes Carter is a smart rugby player. Martin Leahy, Conor Dempsey, Jake Prattley, Doc. These guys are around the block, right? And we have the core of our team are still very, very, and I know it's a number of years ago, are still very, very. They're still carrying the brunt of 14 and 15. They were 2 times.
I know. Speaking to Caddy, it still hurts him about it.
Yeah, the Caddy, Joe, Wes, Doc, Mort Leahy, these guys are hurting. They. I would safely say Joe Manuel, Liam, maybe Wes, Mort Leahy would probably be retired now if they had a cup medal in their arse pocket.
What's the point staying on?
That's why they want to stay on, because they know 14 and 15, it was there for the taking, particularly Ash, which do you say?
The 6-3 loss, wasn't it?
The 6-3 loss when Tullow Ashbourne were down to 13 players.
I was 4th fifth in that day.
Yeah, Enniscorthy in Kildara.
Yeah.
The lads are hurting. And And then don't forget the Kilkenny history that's in our team, like the two McDonalds, Jake and Aidan, like their fathers, Ger, our director of rugby, and Paddy Red. They lost Towns Cup finals. Ger was lucky to win a Towns Cup. Paddy Red lost 1996. You know, I've seen Kilkenny in lose 3 Towns Cup finals. You know, and don't want that. But it's this Sunday. You know, and the other side of it, Stephen, I see Johnny's after dropping off there, is people in Kilkenny, legends are made at the Towns Cup, and Mick McGrath was our 1986 Towns Cup winning captain. Ger MacDonald was in that team, was director of rugby. Ger Mac was our Towns Cup winning coach in 2001 and 2002. Those guys have brought through, I'd say, 15, if not 16 of the squad through youth rugby in Kilkenny. You know, so they're being tutored. They've been tutored since they've been kids by Kilkenny Towns Cup legends. Ger and Mick would have been telling these guys what Towns Cup means. And that's the likes of Aidan and Jake. It's in their heads. Gary Dunn, these guys, like Towns Cup, like anything can happen this Sunday. And like, I want so much for us to be in a Towns Cup final. I want so much for us to win a Towns Cup. I remember Carlow in 2001 when Dave McMahon clipped it over the bar to give us his, what was it, a 6-3 win or a 9-6 win against Portlaoise and Carlow. Like Dave McMahon, I should say, didn't play any other cup match that season bar the Towns Cup final. Barry Daly was the scrum half, or number 10, that got us the whole way through it. He got a really bad injury 2 nights before the final and couldn't play. That was, for Kilkenny, that was, geez, we're after losing our starting 10. Dave McMahon comes in, has a good game, knocks over a penalty to give us a Towns Cup win. All of a sudden, Dave is a Kilkenny Towns Cup legend, where Barry is in the background. So, you know, luck plays such a part in it.
Does it?
You know, like I'm buzzing here even talking about it. Like, I mean, it's an emotional tournament. We just want to go out this Sunday and win it. You know, and we want to get to a final. Like, and we have to remember, this is only a semi-final. This isn't a final, and the buzz around it, you know. And I see Dundalk, they're putting player profiles up on Facebook, and they're doing all this, and they're making a big song and a dance about it. You know, this is their final. I can see by them, they're treating this as a Towns Cup final, you know, so they're going to be up for it too. You know, they've only won it once. They've been one final, I think, and won it once, you know, so.
Looking forward to it. I can't wait now. Johnny, of course, Johnny and Tom have dropped off the podcast now at this stage because we recorded on video. Johnny might join us again, but Johnny is reporting live from that match for us on Sunday from Naas, so you won't miss a thing with Johnny and his expertise. James, we're going to move on just quickly. Your women are in action this weekend.
Yes, away to Swords in the Cup. It's this Sunday at 1:00. Unfortunate for them that the game is on Sunday. You know, now it's at 1:00. Maybe they'll be able to call into Naas on the way back down the road and get maybe the second half of the first game, and hopefully they do. And they're away. They're very disappointed for the women. They lost out in the league title on scoring difference. Very heartbreaking for them considering the season they've had. And fair play to Paddy and Mags and all of the players there. I think there was eight of the team or 8 of the squad are involved with the Southeast under-20s the other night. They had a massive win against, I think it was the North Midlands or Northeast. You know, so the massive win there. There was another 5 or 6 then in at the under-17, under-18 screen. And women's rugby is going well. So look at away to Swords. I think they've beaten them already twice this year in the league. So they'll be going up there fairly confident. But as we say, it doesn't matter if it's Heineken Cup or Towns Cup or Paul Flood or Division 5 Women's Cup. Cup Rugby's Cup Rugby. League form is gone, you know. So it's the same treatment, you know. It's knockout rugby. And as Doc said to you after the game on Sunday, we've been playing Cup Rugby for the last 7 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
The women, we're all hoping that the women win on Sunday as well. And I'd asked them then to, on the way back down the road, to remember to call into Naas Rugby Club and make plenty of noise.
Absolutely, and the best of luck to the Kilkenny women this weekend in the Cup. James, we'll move on and have a chat about this. Another huge match this weekend, Saturday, 7:00. Leinster, Munster, Munster, Leinster. The way it's scheduled now, it's not too far from the Heineken Cup games. So it is a bit of a warm-up sort of element to it, but it doesn't have the full blood and guts of a typical Inter.
But a strong team name there.
Yeah, Leinster's pretty strong, I'd say, from 6 to 15. That's no disrespect to anyone now, in the front row or the second row.
Alatoa, Byrne, James Tracy. Alatoa is probably the best of the front rowers that's there. And then I suppose James Tracy is knocking around a long time, and Ed Byrne's a solid loose head. Looking forward to seeing Jack Dunn, actually, to be honest with you. But the back row, that back row is incredible. And he looks, that's the Irish back row.
Yeah.
With Caleb, with Josh van der Fleer in the form that he's in. In the backs, they're strong in the backs. I was hoping we'd see Sexton come up, but I don't know if he injured or what's the story, but has he been rested? But I was hoping we'd see him there. But they're very strong on the wings. It'd be interesting to see Jimmy O'Brien. He's a lot of talk about him. Probably Andrew Conway's injured, I think, isn't he? So who's on the wing? Who's his opposite number from Munster? I don't know, but he's come up against Calvin Nash and Shane Daly there. You'd think he'd be the stronger of the three. It's a strong Munster team as well, like Jeremy Loughman has been there, who's called into the Irish squad recently. Munster front row, to me, is not good enough anyway. I think with some of the players that are leaving Munster this year, being Clute and Damien Dialande, it's going to create a position for them where they need to where I think they need to sign a strong front rower. But I don't think they will at this stage because they appear to have a lot of cover there. Second row, I can't wait to see Jason Jenkins eventually.
See what he does.
See what he does. But he's a big lock. He's a big second row. So that'll be good. Strong Munster back row as well. Yeah. Chris Clute is deadly on the ground, even though he's heading to Bath. I think a lot of people around Munster will be sorry to see him lose. He's a little bit of a cult hero there. Gavin Coombs, in my eyes, is the up-and-coming Irish number 8, despite how well Jack Conan is going.
I know, he's fantastic.
On the bench, it's going to be on the merits of the team sheets. I think Leinster are way stronger, to be honest with you. I think they're way, way, way stronger. But Munster 12-13 is very strong in Dialande and Chris Farrell, so that'll be hard for Leinster to contain. There's a lot of big ball carriers there. I saw a stat on Dialande the other day that I think, despite how much he's been injured for Munster in the 2 seasons he's been there, I think he has the most defenders beaten in the URC, or as it previously was. So it's going to be a good game. I believe but there's not much fanfare around it. There's not much hype around it. I believe I heard on the radio this morning there's still a scalp of tickets available for it. So
yeah, I think people are saving a few quid from a Leinster point of view anyway, for the trip to Connacht the week after, and then the return leg in the Aviva. Because obviously another Interpro in the Heineken Cup context is huge as well. With Leinster in the form they're in, and of course Connacht, well able to do a job on Leinster if they want to. So for a good one, it's a funny atmosphere, James, ahead of these ones. We usually always, we look forward to them, and lads knocking lumps out of each other. But there's a lot of, it's a bit of shadow boxing and a bit of keeping an eye on 2 weeks or a week and 2 weeks down the road.
We're used to seeing this fixture being played on Stevens' Day as well, where there's kind of huge crowds and great atmosphere, and it's played in kind of the old style Thomond Park or the RDS with dew coming up off the grass and fog, and that's what we're used to. It's unusual to see Munster play Leinster unless it's in a final or something so late in the season. And then the other side, as you were saying, Stephen, people are preparing for what's to come. We're just off the back of a Six Nations as well, and a lot of people are probably rugbyed out as well, And the other side, there's a lot of confirmations. It's going to sound silly, but there's a lot of confirmations and communions on as well at the moment that people are probably having to stay at home for too. So
yeah, you'd save up your money. You'd love to go and see your Munster Leinster match, but you'd save your few bob if you're a Leinster person to probably go up to the Aviva in 2 weeks' time or head to the sports ground or whatever. It's just bigger picture and all that sort of stuff as well.
And while we're actually chatting about Munster, so in the past hour, congratulations, but commiserations to Niamh Buggy from Kilkenny, who was coaching Bandon Grammar to the Munster Senior Ladies Schools Cup final this week. They were beaten, but well done to Niamh for coaching them to get to the final, and hard luck on a tough loss.
Absolutely. Well, James, we'll probably wrap up the podcast there. We started with 4. There's 2 of us left between deliveries to houses and that. Real life happens on the podcast. Lads get called away for all sorts of stuff. But come here, the very best of luck against Dundalk on Sunday at 3 o'clock. That game is up in Naas. We'll have live reports all afternoon with Johnny Tobin from Naas, and keep an eye on our Twitter account and that as well. Fingers crossed we're going to a Towns Cup final in Kildare in a few weeks' time, but sure, we'll let you do that job first to make sure that that's guaranteed.
Hopefully, I have butterflies in here. Like it's.
Yeah,
I just look at we all
forward to it.
look at. You probably feel that we love Towns Cup. Like everyone loves it. Like it's.
It's the business.
Hope. Like I hate to say in France, hope to God. It's nothing to do with God if we win or lose, but just hope go up there and we come out with a result and we're going to Naas or we're going to Kildare on Easter Sunday.
Absolutely. James, very best of luck. We'll wrap up the podcast there. Thanks to James Blanchfield from Kilkenny Rugby Club. Johnny Tobin was on earlier from Tullow, and of course the president of County Carlow Rugby Club, Tom Crotty. We'll leave it there.